Go.
Welcome. My name is Igcse and this is our Global Perspective Team project. And one of the outcomes of this project is the talk show. And speaking on the topic of child abuse. Under this, we have the aim of creating awareness on how to fully eradicate child abuse. And this talk show consists of 5 members who are
Operational.
and we're going to be talking about the causes, consequences, and we're looking at 2 case studies on child abuse. Firstly, I'm going to be stating the meaning of child abuse. Child abuse is not just physical violence directed at the child. It is any form of maltreatment by an adult, which is violent or threatening for the child. This includes neglect. We also have the forms, which are sexual abuse, physical abuse, emotional abuse, and so on. So we're going to start with Hazel talking about the causes of child abuse.
Okay, so some of the causes of child abuse include isolation and lack of support. This is when the parents don't really know how to support you and they have lack of parental experience. And stress. Stress comes in different forms, either financially, job, medically, or even when a family member can't take care of you. Unrealistic expectations is also another one, and it's the lack of understanding about a child's development stages, including adolescence and development. Intellectual disability or mental illness can also trigger child abuse. Parents may be unable to adequately care for their child. Lack of parental skills again can also cause this. Drugs, alcohol, and gambling problems can cause this. For example, if you have a family member that goes through drug addiction and alcohol addiction, they can influence the child sexually or mentally. Past childhood experiences makes parents also put that in their children. If the parent has experienced this in their childhood, they can also put it on their child, which can influence the child and also cause the children to have mental health problems. So yes, that's about it.
Okay. Mira, could you tell us the consequences of child abuse?
Sure. So, effects of child abuse. Harm experienced in childhood can have significant and lasting effects, and children can respond differently to what has occurred. Children may experience a range of emotional, psychological, and physical problems as a result of being harmed, including low self-esteem, increased fear, guilt, and self-blame, distrust of adults, or difficulty forming relationship with other members in the class or in the society, disrupted attachment with those who are meant to keep them safe, mental health disorders such as anxiety, attachment, post-trauma stress, and depression disorder. Self-harming suicidal thoughts can also be one of the major causes of child abuse. Development of daily eating disorders and physical elements where children can stop eating and start starving themselves. Permanent cycle injuries or death. Violent, aggressive, or criminal behaviors to other people. Drug and alcohol abuse, and risk of sexual behavior. In conclusion, it should not be noted that for some children who have been abused, the impact will not be evident in the behavior, and that is effects of child abuse.
Okay, so adding to that, they can also become very timid. They don't want to speak to anyone. They just want to be with themselves. They don't want to eat anymore. They don't want to sit at the dinner table anymore. They don't want to converse with their peers. They might look for other ways of, they might go into drug addiction, like Hazel said, because it makes them feel better. So we should try and also be aware of how this can impact them psychologically, mentally, physically, and how they relate to people in society. Okay, so we will have to now listen to Shalom as she gives us not her experience, but other people's experiences that she has heard on child abuse.
Yes. So this case study is coming from an ex-student from Green College who has produced it. So first, he was sexually abused by his uncle since he was at a tender age from 5. And this continued going on for years and years. But when I really came to this point with a friend, he talked to me about it. He was open enough to tell me about his experience. And I couldn't believe it because he was also exposed to drugs. He was also a drug addict. He still is it, and other exposed to things. But when he told me, I felt that maybe it was due to the abuse he passed through. So I felt very remorseful about it. And I told him that he should talk to his parents first. But he said he wasn't close to his parents. So I said, okay, for the fact that you have spoken up to me, I'll try and put my best to do something about it. And then later at the time, came back to tell me that he was able to tell his sister. And his sister then went to his parents and told her parents about it. And the parents waited for the uncle to come back. And he came back. They went to him and asked him why he was doing that to their children. And he didn't give a very reasonable reason why he was doing that. So immediately action was taken. And he was taken to the police, which they really took care of. At the time, I think the police was very responsible to take care of things like matters like this. And so he was put in jail for like 2 years or so. And he was free. Thank you.
Okay, so Donna, I also have another case study.
So this case study is from South London, and this case study is about a girl named Leah, and she experienced child abuse and physical and emotional abuse from her parents, who were drug addicts and also had alcoholic problems. So they usually hit her countless times and made her do housework, even though they were house helps for these certain tasks. And they made it feel like she wasn't, they didn't want her to be born, because ideally she wasn't supposed to be born. They had her at a very young age and they made her feel bad for it. So she used to go to school, but at the time she couldn't go to school for a couple of months. So the teacher called emergency departments in London, and then they went to her house and found her shivering in a corner, beaten and bruised, and they helped her, took her to emergency child support, took her through like therapy sessions, and now she's becoming a medical doctor in a few years.
Okay, so I also have one, but it's not my experience. But my mom told me that when I was little, she saw a girl and she was completely beaten, was burnt with iron and all of that. She showed me the picture. So what she did, she went to a non-governmental organization and also an organization that deals with those going through child abuse, and the parents of that girl were arrested. So in conclusion, all we have to say is that parents should not abuse their children. If you want to discipline them in a way that you know they're going to listen to you. Don't abuse them by hitting them, slapping them, don't say vulgar languages to them, because that will make them not have self-confidence anymore. They won't want to come to you to talk to you about anything, and that's where lack of self and child development starts from. So we all have to say that child abuse should not be taken in any society or anywhere and should be reported. Thank you so much.
Pause.
And we all say
no to child abuse.
So many parents lack in providing qualitative education to their children.
Yeah.
So that is one. When we talk about health facilities, a lot of African parents they are not up and doing in this, and the child has the right to this. So when they are not providing it, they are violating their rights. Right of expression, freedom to a certain extent. They stop them from doing some certain things or going from certain places so all these are ways in which parents actually violate the rights of the children.
Do you think the NGOs, non-governmental organizations, are doing enough to help children going through child abuse?
I will give it to the NGOs. For now, they are actually trying, not only in Africa but globally. They are trying. You see a lot of NGOs coming up, putting so many measures on ground, so fixing so many things to make sure that the rights of a child or children is being protected. So many programs, the NGOs are coming, fundings, putting up measures to make sure that the children are being protected. So I will say basically that the NGOs are actually they're trying.
Willing to do it over. Okay? So you guys just calm down. Okay? Don't worry. I'm here for you.
This is the first time interview.
Yes, I know. Can be a bit messy, but we can take it over again until we get the perfect video.
Good evening, sir. My name is Hazel Tuman, and I am here today with the absence of my colleagues and members of the team to ask a few questions on your views on child abuse. So can you please start by telling me your name and nationality?
My name is Igcse. I'm Syrian and Nigerian.
To begin, I would like you to briefly explain what you know about child abuse.
Child abuse is an illegal and sinful act which involves sexual act, forced labor, and psychological and many other aspects.
Thank you, sir. And next question. Do you think most parents violate the rights of their children when trying to discipline them? And why so, please?
While some parents do it unintentionally, without their knowing that they are doing wrong, without their understanding what's the right thing to do. I cannot say all parents, some parents, but we parents need to educate ourselves how to reason, how to think psychologically towards the parent, towards the child.
So, do you think that the NGOs are doing enough to help children facing child abuse, globally and locally?
Well, it depends on the country. Not all NGOs can do everything they can. It works both sides, NGOs and in-house and family.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Samira Igcse. I'm my colleague here. And we are the Global Perspective team projecting our team project, and we're talking about child abuse, raising awareness on how to fully eradicate child abuse. What are human rights? Human rights are rights inherent to all human beings, regardless of race, sex, nationality, ethnicity, language, religion, or any other status. Human rights include the right to life and liberty, freedom from slavery and torture, freedom of opinion and expression, the right to work and education, and many more. Everyone is entitled to these rights without discrimination. Everyone should be able to exercise their rights. No one should not be able to exercise their rights because they will feel timid and they will be able to express themselves. What is child abuse? Child abuse is hurting the child. It occurs when the child experiences harm or neglect. Often, the abuser is someone the child knows. It may be a parent, family member, caregiver, or family friend. When the child is abused, they are familiar with the faces that abuse them because if it can't be a stranger, it happens in their immediate home. So we should try and take caution of that and always speak out if you're being abused.
Forms of child abuse. We have physical abuse. Physical abuse is broadly defined as any non-accidental physical act inflicted upon a child by a parent, caregiver, or other person who has responsibility for the child. In either ways, they could use a rod, cane, belt, wire to inflict injury on the child's body. We have sexual abuse. Sexual abuse occurs when an adult or another child acts or pressures the child for sexual contact. The abuser may use physical abuse, bribery, threats, tricks, or take advantage of the child's limited knowledge of sexual matters. Most cases are perpetrated by a person familiar to the child, usually not a stranger. Sexual abuse can also include taking photos of the child or showing them pornographic pictures, magazines, movies, or online. It normally happens with with minors from 12 downwards. It can never happen to an 18-year-old because they are already educated on sexual education. It only happens to children who have little knowledge or no knowledge on sexual education. Emotional abuse. Inattention to a child's emotional needs, failure to provide psychological care, permitting a child to use alcohol or other drugs. In addition, children who witness domestic violence who live with a sex offender in their homes can fall under the umbrella of emotional abuse. neglect and maltreatment. The failure of a parent, guardian, or other caregiver to provide for a child's basic needs. This can be in the form of physical, medical, education, and emotional neglect.
Okay, so we also have child trafficking. A commercially sexually exploited child is one under the age of 18 who agrees to engage in or offers to engage in sexual conduct in exchange for money, clothing, food, shelter, education, goods, or care. Exploited youths are not child prostitutes, they are child victims. Shaken baby syndrome. Infants, babies, or small children who suffer injuries or death from severe shaking, jerking, pushing, or pulling may have been victims of shaken baby syndrome. The act of shaking the baby is considered physical abuse or spinal head and neck injuries often result from violently shaking a young child. Ways of preventing child abuse. Volunteer your time. Go to NGOs. Go to organizations that fight for child abuse. Volunteer your time to look at this. What are you laughing?
Pause.
Discipline your children thoughtfully. Instead of using vulgar languages, instead of beating them, try to talk to them, try to give them advice instead of doing physical abuse. Examine your behavior. As a child, you should look at yourself and try to examine, what are the reasons why people abuse me? Did I abuse because of my behavior, the way I act, or the way I behave to other people in society? Educate yourself and others. Tell people about child abuse. Don't just know about child abuse. Talk about it. Create more awareness about it because it's a very sensitive topic. Teach children their rights. Although many people don't believe that children should have rights in the language, but everybody is entitled to have rights. And they should be exercised properly, even as a child. But educate them and know that this is right from wrong, so they don't think that their rights are being, are not being exercised.
Support prevention programs. Know what child abuse is, especially when a child is aware of what child abuse is. When that action is taking place upon the child will know who to run to and who to tell. Know the signs. Report abuse and invest in kids, especially when you know a child's strength and what they are good at. Don't allow that child just to stay at home or be cleaning dishes or be a housemaid or just because the person is not your biological child, just take advantage of the child's talent instead of making them know about it more.
You need help, you can contact Voice for the Help. We have come to the end of this presentation. Thank you all for your time.